Hey, this is Robert, and I want to make sure that we get started on the right foot here. So, in this before we begin exercise, there are some about 5 things that we got to make sure that we get done right off the bat in order to continue with our programming next week. So, complete selected steps outlined in the before you begin section of the text. So, right here in this before you begin section, there are some things that we want to do. Number 1 is to download the JDK, the Java SE, that stands for Standard Edition Development Kit. Disregard anything about SE9, not worried about that right now. Here are the instructions and the link to show you how to make sure you get the JDK installed correctly. Then we want to be able to set the path environment variable and the class path environment variable. Don't worry about the home variable. We'll talk just a little bit later about IDEs or integrated development environments. And I think, nope, we've got to be able to download the code examples for the text. That's very important. And finally, I think down here it says, well, it doesn't say. Okay, I've got that someplace else. No problem. So that's what we want to do as we get started here. So, download and install the JDK 8. Just click on this link. Takes you to this page, and we want to make sure we get the Java download. Disregard this thing over here with NetBeans because we'll use a different IDE other than NetBeans, hopefully. Okay. Next, we want to set the path and class path of variables. And again, over here in the begin section, there is a tutorial right here on setting the path and the class path environment variables. So make sure that you get that done. This is critical if you want to launch Java programs from the command line. It's not critical if we just do things from within an IDE, which is what we will be doing for the most part. But it's a good idea to get this done so that if you have a desire or a need to launch a Java program from the command line, then the path and class path are set up properly so that you can do that. Okay, next thing we want to make sure that we do is download something called JGrasp. Now, IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment, and there are a number of popular ones that are out there. NetBeans you've probably heard about. Eclipse is a very popular one that I like. IntelliJ is something that has appeared in the last couple of years that a lot of folks like as well. If you haven't used NetBeans, Eclipse, or IntelliJ, please don't try. I would much prefer, and you will appreciate, using JGrasp instead of one of these other IDEs. So just click this link. It will take you to the download site for JGrasp. Download is just right here. And there are a couple of videos over here that you want to watch, this getting started video especially. So JGrasp is a very simple but powerful IDE. It contains everything that we need to write, compile, debug our Java programs. So it's the IDE of choice for 1400 unless you have previous experience with one of these. If you don't have any experience with NetBeans, Eclipse, IntelliJ, or something else, please don't try to use those other things. Use JGrasp. Later on, as you become comfortable with Java, and you may find a need to promote yourself, quote unquote, to a more sophisticated IDE, and NetBeans, Eclipse, IntelliJ is something that you might want to look at. But right now, I'm much more interested in you learning the syntax of the language and how a Java program is put together. And these other IDEs have so many bells and whistles that sometimes all the bells and whistles get in the way of learning the programming language. So, word to the wise, use JGrasp. Okay. Last thing we want you to do is to download the code examples right here. And so when you click this link, it'll come over to this page. And right down here under Resources, download code examples right there. And you'll have those because we want to take a look at those as we go through the course. Next thing, the last thing that we want to be able to do in this little exercise is to test drive a Java application. You can't do this unless you've done all of these things up here, unless you've got the JDK and you've got the code examples downloaded. And you can run this from within JGrasp or from the command line, either way. When we download the code examples, over here I think it says make sure that you stick them in a certain place. Right here. it's assumed that the code examples are on the C drive in a directory right off the C drive called examples. So just make sure that you stick them there. It's a zip file, just unzip it and we'll stick it right there. Everything will be kosher. You'll be good to go. Finally, what we want you to do is to test drive this Java application, and the instructions on how to do that are right here. And once again, this is executing from the command prompt, so you want to be able to have your path and class path variable set in order to be able to do that. And then once that's all finished and you've test driven this Java application, what we want you to do is to just add a statement in the submission blocks below indicating that you've completed all the tasks. If you experience any difficulty, please just describe the nature of the challenge that you encountered. Now, having said all this, let me go back and just reiterate that setting the class path and the path itself, this will be the most complicated process that you encounter. It's not necessary to do this if we intend to run programs specifically from and only from the IDE. So I'm more interested in your getting the IDE installed, the JDK and the IDE installed, and not so interested in your ability to do to set the path and the class path. That's fine if you want to do that. I don't really care if you test drive this Java application or not. Just let me know down here what the nature of the challenge was. If you weren't able to do this, if you are able to do this, we're good to go. No problem. Alright guys, looking forward to a great semester. Talk to you later.